And then another vision being selected by Rome, and some of the lay people selected by Rome, like Father Martin and also a woman from Minnesota, I think are pretty much on the fringes of what Catholicism is in this day and in the past. So we've got this tension of these two different visions, and we know at least where we think that the Holy Father and his staff are overweighting the people that he's allowed to choose of his own free will.
Yeah, but you see, but this is my whole point. You can't say, it would be like me saying, you know, I want to hear everybody's voice, Bob. I want you to bring everybody you can. I'm going to listen to everyone and let them listen to me. We're going to have a great big listening session and share our truths, what the Spirit is calling us to. Oh, wait, Bob, here's the list of the people that you are allowed to bring in. I mean, that's not really truth in advertising. I'm sorry. This is an invited guest list of elites. That's what this is. Father Jerry, we've spent a good deal of time talking about many of these men over the years. These are just a few of the bigger names. Your thoughts on where the Pope's mind is in these choices?
Sure. Well, it's obvious that people propose doctrinal change, pastoral change to favor tolerance of sin in the life of the church. They're getting favored. Father James Martin is probably the most shocking appointment, but I shouldn't be shocked because the Pope has favored him up to this point. But his main contribution to the life of the church is the attempt to say that homosexuality is a condition created by God. God is pleased that people are homosexual, and he would like the church to soften up on its approach. Now, what does that mean? In the end, it means changing the doctrine. Cardinal McElroy is in the same school of thought. Cardinal Supik is in the same school of thought. So what we have here, and it's very sad to say, I said this about a year and a half ago, the Synod on Synodality is turning into the Synod on homosexuality. Now, what are we talking about here? The Catholic Church has a liberating truth about human sexuality, which is life-giving, and it does not include approving mortal sin. But that's what these pressure groups and then people who support them in the hierarchy and priests like Father Martin, it's very, very sad. The German bishops are in a similar condition. Bishop Batzing's going to be at the Synod. He's a proponent, again, of homosexual blessings and change in doctrine. Cardinal Hollerich, Cardinal Mark. It's hard to believe, Raymond, that here we are talking about the most vital issue in the life of the church is to declare that we've been mistaken for 2,000 years about a teaching that is biblical and clear, that sodomy is a sin and should not ever be approved by the church. But that's what's going on now.
With same-sex unions, or blessings rather, seemingly high on the agenda, the Synod nominations do seem to reflect some of the thinking you've been talking about. More than one of the delegates named are openly pro same-sex blessing. Cynthia Bailey Manns, a Catholic activist and member of St. Joan of Arc Catholic community in Minnesota, not parish, is a promoter of adoption by same-sex couples. Sister Viscia Valladares, a Nicaraguan nun living in Spain, also promotes the blessing of same-sex unions within the church. Bob, is the deck stacked on this issue at the Synod?
Well, it is, but then again, as I keep saying, the delegates from the peripheries may make a big difference. The thing that I find most striking about this is, look, we are three Americans. We know the American church rather well. How in the world do they find this person from this St. Joan of Arc community in Minnesota? There's got to be a network in Rome, or a network via someone like Father James Martin, that picks an extremely obscure and extremely radical person. The same with this Nicaraguan nun who ends up in Spain. And I think this reflects that there was a much deeper, much broader coalition in Rome, other than simply Francis himself, that seems to be preparing this sea change in Catholic teaching. And I think not only on this, I think we're going to see other things that are going to be pressed. Maybe we're going to go back to the unicorn of women deaconesses and married priests. Again, that seems also to be, I mean, these are all secular things that have been around for 60 or 70 years. And yet they seem never to go away, even though they have been dogmatically defined over and over and over again.
Father Jerry, how can these discussions go forward canonically I mean, we talk nearly every week about settled doctrine that, at least in the Francis era, seems rather unsettled. And with Fernandez in charge of the doctrinal office and now this lineup at the Synod, I mean, is everything up for grabs here?
Well, the mere fact that lay people are going to vote at the Synod means it's no longer the Synod of Bishops, because by definition, a Synod of Bishops is made up of bishops, and there was an exception for a few priests, but that has to do with the Sacrament of Holy Orders, which priests and bishops share. So now with lay people there, this is the Synod of Bishops and non-bishops. Essentially, it's functioning as a political gathering. The selection basis included a 50% representation among the non-bishop candidates that were nominated by the different continental assemblies. They had to be 50% women. Now, that's like the European Union. I mean, this has nothing to do with how the church functions. If the only people who knew stuff about specific topics were women, then they should all be women. And likewise, if all men. The idea that somehow you appoint someone because they were in the process, that was another criteria. You had to be part of the process from the beginning. So if I went to a meeting a year and a half ago, suddenly I'm a candidate to be sitting next to the cardinal prefect of the doctrine of the faith and my vote equals his. I mean, this is absurd. Canonically, this is all wrong. It shouldn't be happening this way. It's not historically justified. It's not theologically justified. We question, they talk all the time now about we have to find positions of power for women in the church, power meaning decision-making properties. Well, what that concerns is the nature of the episcopal authority in the church, which by divine commission is given only to the bishops. It's not given to other people. So this is a big, big mess, very discouraging because stacking the deck with who's there, but then just creating an institution that has no history, no relevance according to Catholic doctrine. If you want to have a synod of lay people, go ahead and have one. Listen to them, but don't pretend that they exercise the same authority as bishops in the life of the church, because they don't.